This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
All right, we got 6 o'clock, Eric.
Okay. My apologies for not being there with you all today. I just got back from a conference in Arizona, a little under the weather. Tested negative for COVID this morning. Don't want to take any chances. Anyways, so I'd like to call the March 12th, 2025 meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission to order. With permission from my fellow commissioners, I'm actually going to ask to switch the first 2 agenda items. As it is listed now, public speak is first and election of officers is second. I think it's important to get the election of officers squared away. We've been without said officers for too long now. So with everyone's permission, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So first and foremost, though, Andy Hunter stepped down from the commission at the last meeting. I would just like to extend my thanks to Andy for 15 years of service to the commission and always really looking out for the best interest of the parks, for the best interest of the department and its workers. He always handled himself really respectfully, and just want to thank him again. He was a great asset to the commission. So having said that, so we need to elect new officers. So I'd like to open the floor to the commission for nominations for the role of commission chair. Carolyn, we can't hear you.
I'd like to nominate Kira.
Okay. So we have a nomination for Kira. Do we have any other nominations?
I think we need a second first.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second for Kira to be elected as the new chair of the commission. Do we have any other nominations? Well, hearing none, I don't think we need to necessarily go around the horn with this. So all those in favor of Kira taking the role of commission chair?
Aye.
Okay, passes unanimously.
Aye. Eric, I think you need to ask because I'm virtual and you're virtual. We have to roll call.
Oh, okay. So we have to do that. Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right, then I'll go around the horn. Kira?
Yes.
Desiree?
Yes.
Jishva?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Carolyn?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well, so it's unanimous. As we now have a new commission chair, Kira, I will ask you if you would like to continue with the rest of the nominations.
Sure. Okay. Sure. So now we are going to open up nominations for vice chair.
If Eric will stay, I'd like to nominate Eric as the vice chair.
At this point, I'm actually, my professional life has gotten really kind of ramped up recently, and I don't feel like I can take on additional responsibility at this point. So I'd like to, and also in the name of including new voices to the discussion, I'd like to not be considered for any of the officer positions. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Is anyone interested in? We have several more officer positions to fill.
What happens then?
So I would say the vice chair is, if the chair were not at the meeting, they would facilitate the meeting, which would include meeting with John potentially ahead of the meeting to help set the agenda. I'll say my attendance is 100% for the time on the commission. I don't think it's super likely, and if I would have to miss, it would be minimal.
And you can appoint someone in your absence. It doesn't have to be the vice chair, but someone who you know is going to be at the meeting can be appointed as the representative for the meeting. So I don't want to get bogged down. We didn't start vice chair until probably 8 to 10 years ago. We started that position just because it was more sporadic of attendance and things like that. So,
and I could tell you all, it is a very light lift.
Carolyn.
Okay, I'd like to nominate Carolyn to be the vice chair.
I would second. Okay, any discussion? Okay, so we will do a roll call vote. Desiree?
Aye.
Joshua?
Aye.
Ryan?
Yeah.
Eric?
Yes.
Carolyn?
Yes.
Kira? Yes. Okay, we have a vice chair. The next role open is the secretary position.
I guess my question, so I have had to miss a couple of the meetings. In the instance that someone is secretary and isn't able to make it, like what is the contingency plan for that?
I think you could ask for someone to take notes for that meeting.
Okay.
I also, have a pretty solid template from setting the agendas, and I'd be happy to send that out ahead of the meeting with it set for taking notes to make it a little easier.
And just in any event of your absence, I'd be more than happy to take notes.
Okay,
Great. I'd like to nominate Joshua for secretary.
second. Great.
Okay.
Any discussion?
So now we're going to vote. Desiree?
Yes.
Joshua?
Yeah.
Ryan?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Carolyn?
Yes.
Kira? Yes. Okay. How do you feel about taking over the notes right now, given that I have not taken many notes as I've taken over the meeting? I can share a document with you. That would be great. Thank you. Okay. And then lastly, the CPA representative position is open. I am interested in that role. I attended the last meeting, knowing that Andy would not be the representative at that meeting after his resignation. And I was interested in the work that they were doing. They were happy to have, someone there, in rec. And so it's certainly something I'd be interested in.
Yep. So I'll nominate Kira to be the liaison to the CPA.
Second?
Okay, so we'll go around and vote. Desiree?
Yes.
Joshua?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Carolyn?
Yes.
Kira? Yes. Okay, so we have some new positions elected. And so I will go back to the public speak. If you're new to attending commission meetings, I would just remind you that the public speak time is to speak in anything that is not on the agenda. As when we get to things on the agenda, we open it up to the community to speak at that time. So if there is anyone who would like to speak, you have 3 minutes to share anything that you like. And we just ask that you state your name and your street address or ward so that we can have that for the record. So if you are interested in public speak of something that's not on the agenda, I will open that up. We have someone in person and online. You can use the raise your hand function if you would like to speak at this time. Okay, seeing none, we will move to the first item on the agenda, which is the FY25 budget / 26 budget. And so John is going to give us an update.
Thank you. So a couple of things on the budget, on the 26 budget. The Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for April 30th. That's where our budgets are discussed. So that's the smaller piece with just finance, and DPW is there as well. May 14th is back with finance, and that's with all department heads and everybody within the city that's presenting. And then May 21st is city council approval night. So that's the schedule that has been laid out to me regarding the budget. Our budget is not seeing any concerns from at the mayor's level or any other leadership position within the city government. So hopefully it's a smooth budget season for us. But those are the dates for anybody who's interested in in attending.
John,
you're more than welcome.
Just before we move on, you said April 30th and May 21st. Was there another date?
May 14th.
May 14th.
Yep.
And can you, sorry, just for notes purposes, repeat what you had said happens on May 14th?
That's the finance committee as well.
Okay, got it.
Those first two are finance and then city council. Full city council is the 21st.
Is that something you would like commissioners to attend?
Yeah, the 30th and the 21st, if you're interested. The 14th, not so much, because that's usually all the questions that I have to deal with on the 30th. Supporting. The 14th is all department heads supporting each other moving forward. And then the 21st, we all come together as well to support the budget as a whole.
Anything else related to the budget?
Yeah, so at last city council meeting, we are going to be getting a hybrid truck, a Maverick. It's going to be on a lease program. The city's going to a lease model for 10 vehicles. We are eligible. We're getting one of them. So I want to thank leadership and city council and everybody involved for that. We are trading out one of our truck 94, one of our real gems, that has no heat, no tailgate, rust at the bottom. So getting rid of one of the older vehicles. And with that, we are going to be able to get rid of one of our security vehicle will be removed from our fleet, and we'll be taking a Ford Focus that I believe is the city engineer's car that they take. Low miles, much better on gas. The vehicle that security uses currently is a V8 as well. It's a police interceptor. So trying to reduce our carbon footprint and how much fuel we're using. So that's exciting for both of those, because that police car, security car has seen better days as well. Municipal Leadership Academy, I presented at that March 3rd. We had about 15 folks in attendance. That was an initiative. That's the second time I presented to a group. Councilor Dedham and former Councilor Gomez were big in putting that together. And that's where residents can sign up to go to, I believe it's 8 weeks of attending, where a department head presents. So all the department heads present. They're able to ask questions, get an understanding of municipal government. So very well attended, some good questions, good feedback. It was a good night overall. I'm going to talk about this under budgets, CPA submittals. We have the historical National Registry CPA submittal for $14,500. I've submitted that already for fourth quarter CPA, so that will be on the April 17th agenda. Also, the spray park, the 264.5 request for CPA will be on the 17th of April as well. The spray park one will be broken up over several years, and it's also contingent upon the Land Water Conservation Fund grant, which maybe by the April 17th, we'd know if it's close to the date that I was told that the state would notify us if we were moving on to the federal level, because it's a two-part approval process. The state approves it to be moved to the federal. With federal funding right now and how everything's shaken out, we'll see how the timing works for that. And that's what I have for budget. Any questions on budget stuff?
Just because I attended the CPA meeting, they also talked about the Nonotuck Park Pool Design Fund, how there's a little bit left over and that would go back.
Yeah, everything's
the
been turned,
CPA.
everything's been
Better,
turned
okay.
back. The historical dollars I turned back, which was 27.5, and then resubmitted for 14.5 of that. We have money in the Mount Tom Trailhead maintenance, from CPA. But that's in there for maintenance that might arise from, issues from storms, and that project was a challenge, and good thing it was under, the contractor's watch when we had the washouts, but there's been some challenges for that. So having that money still in CPA for long-term repairs is important. So we're keeping that in. I submitted a memo to them that we're keeping that money, but everything else I submitted a memo and closed everything else out.
And the pool construction had like 9,000 left in it, and you were gonna keep it another year in case there were unexpected.
Yeah,
costs.
that one's staying until we're out of warranty. If anything arises in that one.
Okay, so moving on from the budget, the next item on the agenda is the recreation coordinator position and the letter of support. We had talked about at our last meeting, how there is a working group, made up of different stakeholders, including, the youth sports leadership, and advocating for a rec coordinator position to help, create some consistency and efficiencies, in supporting kind of all these programs to make them more equitable as well. And so that letter has been drafted and it was included in the packet. John sent the update today of the letter, because I had talked to all of the stakeholders to see if they wanted to sign on, and they had. So it is will be signed by the Easthampton Youth Soccer Association President Jamie Paquette, Jessica Sansucci, Easthampton Basketball President Jason Terrell, Easthampton Little League President Jay Grant, who's a board member for Little League, and Megan Ward Harvey, who is a basketball board member, but also a parent representative with kids in all three sports. And so the goal would be to have the commission put forward a motion to send this letter to the mayor and city councilors for consideration of this position. And I'll just note that at the last meeting, we talked about that this request would not be for funding included in the budget that's being submitted, but would be kind of a separate appropriation, potentially a little bit in the future. So for the commission, I don't know if anyone wanted to speak about the letter at all, or you just want to hear, listen?
Real quick, I just appreciate the
Yeah.
commission and the commissioners taking this on and helping push this forward. You know, speaking on behalf of Easthampton Youth Soccer.
Do you mind going
No, I
through,
can
and
state-
just stating your
state your
name?
name.
and-
Yeah, sure. All right. I'll make it official.
Now you're under pressure.
Now, yeah, I'm Jamie Paquette, Ward 1, 10 Meadowbrook Drive, Easthampton. And president of Easthampton Youth Soccer Association. So thank you to the Parks and Rec Commission for putting this together, for taking the lead in doing this and bringing all the stakeholders together to help us solve problems that all volunteer boards are not always well served to solve. So definitely looking forward to pushing this forward, having somebody in place, and then having this more well integrated into the city's Parks and Rec. Just the rubric of all the fabric of it. Yeah, that's about it. We really appreciate it. So we fully support. Thanks.
Is there any discussion from the commission?
So just to follow up with what Kara said, getting this letter off to the mayor will help push this forward. I reached out to Human Resources to let them know which should be coming, if everything goes well tonight with this letter. And the Human Resource will have to develop a job description. Thank you.
I knew you had it.
Yeah, not in it tonight. So yeah, they'll have to develop a job description and find what classification it fits within the pay plan. So there's some work to be done on that level, and then what the job would require based on some of these things. So, this is the first step in a long process, but it'll help move things along. So just wanted to add that. Thank you.
And just, is there any edits or suggestions after reading it? We had several people in the working group look at it. So I think it's edit free for punctuation and spelling, etc. But of course, open to edits. And if there's none, I would take a motion regarding submitting this to the mayor and city council.
So moved.
I'll second that.
All right. Any further discussion? Okay. So since we are hybrid, we will do a roll call vote again. Desiree?
Yes.
Jishva?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Carolyn?
Yes.
Kira? Yes. Okay, so the motion passes. And I guess, John, I will ask, do you want to send that letter along? Would you like me to?
Let's do that together.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
I think would go well.
Okay. Great. So the next item on the agenda is the Parks and Rec Subcommittee, the rules and regulations. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so Kira and I went through kind of, we kind of went through a lot of the rules and regulations set up already within city council and a couple of the other committees throughout the city to kind of have something in writing as to what a commissioner should look to when they join the commission. Obviously what they need to follow for guidelines. We sent it out last meeting for everybody to check and made a few edits, I guess, based off of that. So.
Yeah. And then I'll just say, I gave it one more look through and there was just a minor like wording thing under section 9, the last paragraph there. I just added, I think, to have a complete sentence, it reads, when a commission member is absent from a meeting, they will review meeting minutes and or watch the recording prior to the next meeting to stay informed. And I just added of ongoing park business. I thought it was smoother. So that would be one suggestion. And then there were no questions at the last meeting, but we wanted to make sure that Brian and Jishva, who weren't present, had the option and would be able to share thoughts as well. But I see Eric has his hand raised, so Eric.
Yeah, I apologize that I didn't think to bring this up at the last meeting, but it just kind of came to me, reading it over again. I guess I'm going to just ask a question about the first sentence in section 3 that states that all meetings will be held at the municipal building with a hybrid option. I'm pushing back on that only very slightly, just because, like, for example, this past fall, when we held that meeting, when we were walking around the spaces, looking at the 2 potential dog park sites, according to these regulations, we would not be able to do that. So I wonder if we don't want to necessarily limit ourselves to just at the municipal building and maybe change just loosen the language up a little bit to allow some flexibility for us to potentially meet in different spaces when it would be appropriate.
So thinking about the wording of with a hybrid option when feasible or when possible, does that feel reasonable to everybody?
Are we able to take out the municipal building piece of that?
Oh, sorry. We'll hold monthly meetings. Yeah, I just want to, the only thing I just want to make sure is the hybrid option when possible, just because I feel like it allows more people to attend our meetings. You know, you kind of see about half our attendance is online. And so I like having that option. So I'm fine with any wording as long as when we can, we have the hybrid option.
This is
Sorry,
going. Sorry.
John, go ahead.
This is going to be provided that the governor extends the hybrid option in 2 weeks. You know, because it's set to expire, and boy, they better extend it. But just so, yeah, so there is it's not official but I would anticipate that it will be because you get more attendance. But just a note on that.
Yeah, and you know, John had said when I had sent this rules and regulations that obviously like, we can move it forward to adopt, but it wouldn't go into effect until the city attorney looked at it and approved it as well. So we wouldn't be held to that until that point, and I assume they would know at that point too, and we could make those corrections.
Does this hold us to, so I know John in the past, right, we've had, they've taken a month off, right? So the wording regular monthly, I think that's still pretty regular, even if we did skip a month, right? So
I believe in the, what is it, 10 out of 12 in the city charter. There's a number inside the city charter that considers regular.
Okay. So I think we'd be okay with that.
I wonder if it could, like, in terms of this particular section and that sentence that Eric's talking about, like, could it be something like, unless discussed prior and by the committee? Like, discussed and approved by the committee?
Well, for moving it, that would be on the chair, I would think, for the chair, for the, probably in municipal ability, unless the chair determines whatever the location needs to be at that point.
Yeah, I think I mean, Brian's point, if we just remove the municipal building side of it, it kind of leaves it open to interpretation of the commission as to where you're going to host it and what the definition of regular meetings would be. Carolyn has her hand up there.
Yeah, and I would just say, I think part of the reason where this came up around having a document like this was to help new commissioners understand kind of what the business looked like and how to act as part of this commission, and also to give the public more information about kind of what we're doing and how we run things. So I think being clear, but also having flexibility is important, just overall. I believe Carolyn put her hand up first. Yeah.
So what I was going to say is it's important to me just because accessibility, from an accessibility standpoint, having an option of having a hybrid meeting. And then also the way that it's written, the monthly meetings have been at the municipal building. We had additional meetings that were outside of. So that was the other thought process that I had, was adding a sentence that says, there may, just to include that there might be additional meetings as well that may not be at the municipal building in some way.
So it could be more than monthly also.
Right.
Eric?
Yeah, and I just, what I was intending to say was similar to Carolyn, that the accessibility issue, yes, we should be having meetings hybrid when possible, if possible. I just don't want to, I'm just concerned that I don't want to kind of hamstring us with language that we can just easily flex out a little bit. But yeah, hybrid when possible is the way we should be trying to do it.
Okay. So how about, based on what John said, it would read, shall hold regular monthly meetings in the municipal building with a hybrid option on a day and time as determined by the commission, unless an alternate location is determined by the chair. So if we did want to switch the regular meeting, that would be flexible.
One more time for Carolyn.
Sure.
My only thought on that, dissecting that sentence, is that would include that all meetings remain hybrid. So I think that's part of the difficulty and why the meetings, because when I joined the commission and I asked for there to be a hybrid option, prior to that, a lot of the meetings were held in the park, which is lovely, except for the hybrid option is not possible in the park, or wasn't at that time. So that would be the only question I have about the sentence structure and the way that you just said it. We might be having ourselves in trouble, putting ourselves in trouble in that way relative to hybrid.
So adding after hybrid option when feasible on a day and time, or
Did you get that?
Can you repeat the
Sure.
whole sentence?
the commission shall hold regular monthly meetings in a municipal building with a hybrid option when possible on a day and time as determined by the commission, unless an alternate location is determined by the chair. Okay. Are there any other sections of the rules and regulations document that anyone would like to discuss further or make edits to.
There was a section where there was highlighting like if a resident was to reach out or ask for an agenda item, they would reach out to the parks director, and then the parks director would forward those communications to the committee members. And I just wondered if there is like if there's stronger language that we can put around that of like, are there specific like types of communications, or is it any and all communications that would be forwarded along?
Yep. I think, this was again about like having community involvement and encouraging that, and thinking about kind of there's two types of correspondence that could occur. One is just, if someone sends an email to John and is like, I'm wondering if you're doing, swim lessons, I'd really like for that to happen. That we have a specific item on our agenda for John to say, I've got some interest from the community about this thing, and would share it during that correspondence time, just so there's more information about what the community is, hoping for. That is more of a lower hanging fruit, I guess, so that it wouldn't be a big project. But then for larger scale projects, that there would be kind of collaborative work, such as like with the dog park and the skate park, where they kind of worked with John around getting something going, and that there were like specific agenda items particular to that project because they were more comprehensive. So I just did not answer your question, but I wanted to give further thoughts on where that came from. And so I don't know if that helps you kind of more hone in on what you were wanting to change, or.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is helpful and clarifies for me, like, that this would be more about larger scale requests or like desires that people are reaching out about. I don't know if there's any language that I would want to modify.
And I think like it's left to John to
Generally,
like, take the
when
information.
someone sends an email, it says, could you please inform the commission
Yeah.
of this? That's what I'd send to Andy.
Got it.
Or the chair at the time, through the years. If it's, John, there was a dog loose in the park today. That's just daily operational stuff that it's just part of the job. So, anything that was always addressed to the commission was always sent to the chair. And then from there, whether it was 2 or 50, they can condense it down and say, okay, we've had a lot of feedback, whether he wants to share all 50 or 2 or whatever.
Is there a submission form?
No.
Right, so it's referred to in this, community members may send emails or complete a submission form to the parks office / park mailbox with any feedback or suggestions for park programming. So are we saying the submission form is just in an email?
The
or
wording's kind of awkward. I think generally they could send email or
We could put a
communicate with the
link on our,
parks.
we could put a link on our webpage.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
as-
that's what
as
we were
a,
talking about when it was there.
Submission form or whatever. We can,
Just to
when I say
streamline
we,
it.
I'm hoping Sam can do it.
Yeah.
She
I think-
handles that.
Yeah, I think that's what we were thinking of when we were talking about kind of submitting stuff, is can we streamline it in a way to help you with maybe a lot of the emails that you are getting, where it can kind of be placed in a folder or something for people to submit.
Yeah, because truthfully, Sam gets most of them because they go to the park and rec.
Okay.
They don't go technically to my desk. When they do address me or the commission through the park and rec email, she forwards it to me.
Eric has it.
Yeah, Eric, you can go first.
Sorry, is the discussion done on this section? Because I'm going to move on to something else really quickly.
Sorry, I
Okay.
just clear up the language. So community members may send emails or complete a submission form on the park website. Should I take off drop off at the park mailbox? Like,
Yeah, I don't know
feels
too many
like-
people that.
yeah, okay.
And, but, I mean, you can leave that as an option if you want, you know,
Yeah.
you do get it on occasion.
And sorry, just to clarify from what you were saying, like that normally you share commission related emails or communications that you get from residents with the chair, and then it sounds like you and the chair would determine.
The
whether
chair
it's
will
like
determine, so
something
when
that-
it says,
Okay,
I would
chair
like the
would
chair,
determine.
you know, the
Okay.
Parks and Rec Commission to be aware of whatever, it goes
Okay.
right to the chair.
Got it.
And whatever they do with it from there is,
So the suggestion for this is that at the next meeting following receiving that information during the agenda item correspondence from the community, we
Okay.
could say, John shared, you know, these 3 emails from community members, and this is what they said.
Got it.
On the park website or in person at the park office. I'll read it again. Community members may send emails or complete a submission form on the park website or in person at the park office with any feedback or suggestions for park programming. Okay, Eric, we're all set with that.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I'm going to make a suggestion for one small edit under section 10 Code of Ethics.
Yep.
Okay. So the way the sentence currently reads is this code shall apply whenever a park and recreation commissioner is in any public setting, including social media, representing the commission. I'm going to ask that that be changed to this code shall only apply whenever a park and recreation commissioner is representing the commission in any public setting, including social media. The way it reads now, you know, I don't want it to be a situation where I'm playing tennis with my brother and I crank my bad knee and I say, oh, curse word. I'm not representing the commission there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like when we're representing the commission, yes, obviously we need to hold up to the code of ethics. But in my own private life, I worry that this is a little restricting for, I mean, not just for me, for anyone.
Yeah, can you just repeat the wording so that I can?
Sure. So it's literally just taking the representing the commission clause and, well, I'll read it. So this code, it's the exact same words, just in a different order. This code shall apply whenever a Parks and Recreation Commissioner is representing the commission in any public setting, including social media.
Thank you. Okay, any other edits or suggestions? There's none. I would take a motion to adopt these rules pending the approval by the city attorney.
Motion to adopt the language as edited currently.
Second.
Second?
Great. Desiree,
Yes.
Joshua,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Carolyn,
Yes.
Kira, yes. Okay.
so when this gets cleaned up and sent, you can send it to me and I'll send it off to the mayor's office and then they'll get it to the city attorney for review.
Great, thank you. Okay, Carolyn?
I just wanted to thank you for working on this. I know it was something that we've talked about abstractly for a while. So thank you for doing the work, Desiree and Kira.
Welcome. Okay, park programs.
Cranking up, getting ready for spring and summer. We just posted lifeguard training classes in association with Northampton Parks and Rec to get folks interested on it. Still waiting for jobs to be posted. They were given to Human Resources, are a little, they're in the weeds a little bit with some stuff with the state on that, so they haven't posted our positions. Usually by March 1st, they're posted. But as soon as they are posted, we'll notify returning lifeguards, those who are interested, camp staff and those things. So hopefully soon, because we don't want to get much later. We don't want folks to find other opportunities. With the lifeguard training, once again, if If we do hire a person that does get trained for lifeguarding and they work for us for the full summer, we reimburse them for their training. That includes recertifications as well. So switching to that strategy a few years ago has really helped us retain and get new lifeguards. So, camp registrations are the first Monday in May, which is May 5th this year. Camp activities and getting camp prep work is ongoing. It takes quite a bit. Where's that rec coordinator position? It takes a lot of time this time of year. Arts in the Park, Sam handles that. She books concerts. The prices for concerts have it's exploded. It's really expensive to have concerts. So the mailer will go out next week to our businesses that we ask for support for Arts in the Park concert series. So we usually get the community is really good about helping us fund those bands. But the preliminary is just we're seeing just skyrocketing pricing. If anybody has family, friends, or anybody else that's interested in playing at a discount for the band show, we're more than happy to.
So John, is the cost coming from the bands themselves?
Bands themselves, yeah.
What's our average cost right now?
It used to be right around $400 or $500, and folks want $800, $900. Like people we've had in the past that we've gotten for $500 want $1,000, $1,200 now. It's I don't know if it's because it's such a competitive market or what it is, but it's an hour and a half on Friday nights, and it gets a lot of publicity, a lot of folks to attend. So it really limits the number we can have when we're playing with such a small budget. So,
got one for you.
yeah, see, that's where we go. We like that. So
And
yeah,
it's funded by businesses donating money?
yeah. So it's there's a lot of businesses in town that donate. Some donate significant amounts towards that.
John, if I may interject, I mean, there was that hot minute when I was possibly going to play music for a living. I think you guys are getting gouged a little bit. I'll be perfectly honest with you. For an hour and a half set, that's really pretty extravagant.
Yeah.
So I'd be more than happy to powwow with Sam or whomever to strategize around this.
And one of the things that we like to do for our Arts in the Park is, I don't want to say cater to our seniors, but be family friendly, senior friendly for our events. So we'll keep grinding it out. We'll get a concert schedule put together, and we'll do the best we can. We definitely discuss price quite a bit with folks of what we can afford and what we can budget. And most times, as it gets later in the season or later this month and early next month, when maybe their calendar's not filling up as much, we seem to get a better deal. So, but I just want to make sure everybody's aware that what could impact. And if it does impact our concert series, we'll look to add more movie nights and offset that, and that's a much cheaper alternative for us and still provide family entertainment. So wiffle ball we're looking to bring back in the spring. We'll be sending out stuff April 1st to our past teams and publicize that. The 100th anniversary Daily Field celebration, we had a little snafu with the date. Eric and I met just before he went to Arizona, and we'll meet again when he's healthier and is not going to give me germs from his trip. And some of the things we're looking at is a ball game, whether it's excuse me, Quabbin and Valley or Tri-County or Legion Ball on Daily Field. Looking to get music for the event, some food trucks, try to coincide it maybe with the pool opening. So we're looking at the 21st of June right now is the date, but we're trying to juggle the city calendar and everything else, and we want to get it before folks take off for summer vacation and kind of get away from the area. So more details to follow on that. Want to add anything on that, Eric?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, just so everyone knows, the snafu with the date. So June 14th is the actual date of the 100th anniversary of the dedication of Daly Field. It just so happens to be the same day as Cultural Chaos this year. So, you know, we're a small town. We shouldn't have competing like major awesome events. We can figure it out.
Thank you.
So,
And the Sunday skate program ended 2 weeks ago, the last Sunday in February, very well attended. It's a great, thing for the communities and how many folks come out for skating. Any questions on, programming?
I kind of brought it up earlier, but I'm wondering about swim lesson
Yeah, so
offering. I know we talked about that last year.
We're still looking, I want to have swim lessons, so we're still looking, at having, I just have to, we had a meeting last week, 2 weeks ago, with the Pioneer Valley Park and Rec Association. So using them as a resource to see who could help us facilitate lessons, but it's definitely something, that we're interested in. Park facilities, maintenance building update. I had a meeting with EDM Studios today. This morning I had a conference call with them. They gave a 30,000-foot overview of some of the ideas and placeholders and thoughts they had. And there'll be more to come. Batteries getting low. There'll be more to come. I hammered them for another date in 4 weeks to get more, the next round, because there was kind of a lull in getting some stuff back from them. So I would anticipate in April, depending when our next meeting is, to have a sense of some of the plans and ideas they had. One of the things that they did have in there that's very important was that community space. They had some thoughts and ideas of where things could be configured. So they're hashing out. They're going to try to come up with 3 concepts. One was kind of thrown out today because it didn't fit with what was needed.
Carolyn,
Seems
did they
like
freeze?
I think they froze.
Okay.
If you guys can hear us, we're not hearing or seeing you.
So Carolyn, maybe we should exit the meeting and try to get
I'm
back in.
wondering. Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good idea. So now we lost them.
Well, meeting adjourned. Oh, they might have to
Yeah, I wonder.
redo this.
I'll send Kira a text. She just said that they're working on it. They're
Yeah.
shutting down the computer and rebooting it.
That's what I figured.
Sorry, you're not feeling well.
Oh, it's okay. I mean, I'm probably fine, but it's one of those I don't want to
Yeah.
take any chances with anyone. So
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I'm very vaxxed and very boosted, but
All right.
Got you back.
Is everybody back in?
hey,
Yes, thank you.
Sorry about that. All of a sudden the power went out on the laptop.
Oh,
Scramble mode. So yeah, so EDM Studios will have, hopefully next month for next meeting, we'll have a better idea of what they're thinking for designs. The building itself, maintenance building, is pretty much cleared out, waiting for some more. I mean, we still have snow piles where that trailer needs to go of 4 feet high. You know, the park there's also a lot of spots, even around our building that does not get any sun. So it is, still pretty bad there. So once we can get, that cleared away and we can get the, trailer in for the staff to have a place, we can keep rolling along. So, it's been a slow process, but we'll get there.
Can I ask, is there any sort of timeline that EDM should be within? It feels like, I mean, how long ago was that decided that they were gonna come up with those concepts?
Yeah, it's, once again, it's dealing with, someone else's timeline. And that's why I kind of held them to put a thing on the calendar for 4 weeks from now. You know, to make sure that we're pinpointing some dates and some timelines, because yeah, I think they originally said it was only going to be 6 or 8 weeks total, and we're probably at 8 weeks already. You know, from when they jumped on board for the first meeting. Yeah, the first meeting. Yeah, it's been 8 weeks, because the first meeting was like around this time in January that I met with them, the kickoff meeting. So we're, you know, they're going to probably be 6 weeks past what they anticipated. But I mean, at the end, it's not getting built right away anyways, you know, but it still would be nice to kind of see and present what plans and thoughts, and we can start putting our wish list together.
And would they come and present similarly to how the New City Playground did?
Yeah, if we wanted them to, I'm sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Or they
They're
would just
pretty-
submit the plans? and we
Yeah, they're
would
pretty,
review them?
yeah,
Okay.
they're pretty reasonable. I'm sure they'd carve out a half hour if we wanted them to present, as long as I did it, you know, give them enough notice. Anything else on building? Pickleball expansion, the pickleball bid is down in procurement's office. Mike's on vacation this week. It still has not been sent out, but he assured me that the August 15th completion deadline will be met. So that's where that is. And we're still planning on to be done for the middle of August for completion of that project. The next one, the park entrance, the reversal of directions, the update. The public hearing was held last Wednesday, March 5th. Good turnout from the neighborhood on both sides of the park. A lot of good feedback, a lot of discussions with the neighborhood. One of the couple of recommendations to help move this, you know, alleviate some of the problems is, you know, just doing the toll booth as soon as we can, moving it into the park, and then also looking at moving it further down into the park. So I will be meeting with the city engineers to discuss designs and, you know, and trying to once again utilize free resources within the city and for busy staff to help us with that. The other thing, so we still want to move forward with those two designs no matter what, because we know the toll booth has to be moved. The other thing, that was brought up, and that's something, was the traffic study, for the neighborhoods and the impact. And that is something that I was working with Greg and kind of had in the back pocket for that meeting. That if it was needed, or warranted or desired, that we would be working, to get a price from VHB is the name of the firm. The city's used them before for traffic studies. What they do is they do data collection on how many cars would actually enter the park, how many cars left the park, and then all the side streets that they used, to leave the park. So we would know which streets are being impacted on that. I believe they do speed assessment as well, as part of that, which I think would be an important piece of this, traffic study regardless of the road reversal, to look at those types of, issues that the neighborhood's having. That's where we're at. If we're interested in continuing and for me to get pricing on the traffic study, I will certainly, I have a meeting scheduled with them on Tuesday. If we would like to pursue that, I will keep that meeting, but I have a placeholder with them, to look at what proposal scope of work and how much it would cost to do this work. And then city council is fully aware, that I did let them know that I'd be looking for funding for this work. So that's the, and anybody has any feedback or discussion points?
Yep, Carolyn.
I just, having been at that meeting and left it seemed to me that the low hanging fruit that seemed consistent for everyone was that speed is an issue. The park, we all agree, is an issue. Getting into the park, leaving the park, those side streets relative to the schools. So it just seemed to me to question whether or not, from my perspective of as a board, as a commission, it feels uncomfortable for me to ask for a study for traffic going in and out of a park that has one entrance, so the cars going in or the cars going out. You know, to me, that's seems like $10,000 that maybe the city of Easthampton doesn't need to spend, but that $10,000 could go towards other ways of addressing the real concern regardless, which is speed. The other question I had for you, John, was my thought when we were talking about this was by reversing the traffic pattern that we would have an ability to have 2 lanes going into the park, which would help with us being able to collect fees and minimize time when there are people that have a pass. And so my question was, if we were to move forward, moving the toll booth, wouldn't we have to commit? Because I would imagine that there's not going to be 4 lanes, 2 on each side of the toll booth on an entrance. So I was just questioning if that's actually as feasible as it might at first sound. Because I would think we would need to commit to either one direction having 2 lanes or the other direction having 2 lanes, but not
Down in the park, you're talking?
correct. So if we were going to reverse the traffic pattern, I would think we would want 2 lanes on the side closest to the Parks and Rec building, the administrative building. If we were not going to reverse the flow of the traffic, I would think we would want to have the 2 lanes closest to the playground.
We weren't looking at two lanes on Daly Field Road. Where the toll booth, we moved into the park and then try and be basically 3 lanes at the toll booth itself. So the exit lane would be 1 and try to accommodate 2 lanes where there's a season pass holders lane and then paying patron daily entrance lane.
So if that's the case, that's my question. It seems if that's the answer, then it seems like we would need to, before we make plans and move the toll booth, we would need to know what direction the traffic's going to be going. So we know which side has 2 lanes versus 1. Does that make, am I making sense?
The toll booth's gonna go, no, because the toll booth's going in the middle of it'll be on an island in the middle of the road.
It'll have to be on the right.
So the exit's gonna have to be on the right of the toll booth anyways, no matter what the traffic pattern is up top.
Okay,
Because there's still moving the toll booth in solves one of three problems. It alleviates the traffic, for neighborhoods, no matter which neighborhood you're talking about. The two concerns are it still sends folks into our office area and makes them reverse directions back a one-way to go back into the park. And then the cross, entering, exiting, the park, where the tot lot playground is still a cross-traffic pattern. You know, one of the suggestions, was to put stop signs up. There is a stop sign on the toll booth, and there is another stop sign. So there are stop signs there. So, you know, making sure that folks adhere to those and keep a safe, traffic pattern is important. So, you know, we all, like you said, everybody's in agreement of, reducing the impact at busy times in the morning on the weekend mornings of the toll booth and impact it has on the neighborhood and the speeds, you know, whether they're coming or going in the park and around the park.
Yeah, so if I can, I have a unique perspective on this. You know, obviously the location of my house, my grandfather built that in 49. I've been in and around the park since I was born. Now I live there since 09. I can speak to park traffic coming and going. I forgot who the woman's name who spoke during the city council, but she said it where, you know, when people come into the park, right, everybody's coming in at once. When people leave, it's a little more sporadic. So having that traffic as games end, we all know, listen, people like kind of, they're not all leaving at the same time that they're coming in. Yes, the consensus was to bring that booth further into the park. City council member, they suggested that, as well as one of my neighbors. John, thank you for sending those flyers out. It was after the city council meeting where I had a lot of neighbors come to me, and zero that came to me, nobody wants it. So for me, I have to kind of look at my neighborhood, and I'm going to go against this. And the city council mentioned having a meeting for 5 months. And I didn't understand that, right? Because I would have been part of that meeting and whatever feasibility study or whatever they were doing, I would have loved to have been a part of that, but that wasn't the case that I'm hearing, that there wasn't really a meeting specifically on the park direction. But
It was under the public safety
Under the
committee.
public safety.
Yeah, it was under public safety. And that's why it was important for us to send flyers out to the neighborhood, because it is a major impact, and to be respectful of our neighbors, to make sure everybody was informed and so that people could have conversations regarding this.
so that next meeting, I know myself, there's other people in my neighborhood that want to attend that. I am a part of traffic studies, and I work with Desmond and Walker Consultants. They're huge. That's what they do. So I have a lot of insight that I could bring as far as safety. Making that the entrance, we already have traffic that is Williston. We have high school, and we have everybody that doesn't want to cut through town. They cut down those side roads to get all the way towards the pond and kind of go up the mountain that way. So to have the park put on top of that, I think is going to be a burden for the neighborhood for sure. And any further meetings, we definitely want to be a part of that and bring attention to the subject. For me, the biggest thing I see, and when I do these traffic studies, when you have one-way traffic, right? So picture yourself, you're entering the park. Everybody that walks their dogs, right? They're entering the park the same way. They park in that parking lot. Now you have pedestrians with no sidewalks walking their dogs, and traffic is behind them. So when we do these feasibility studies, that's that's a huge red flag. And that's something that I want to bring up in the next meetings as well. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there, that it's not just coming from me, to be honest with you. I was open to it. And then after hearing what everybody was saying around my neighborhood, then I gotta kind of fight for them. So I will. Okay.
Hi, I don't personally have a comment to make at this moment. I just wanted to point out that a member of the public had their hand raised at one point, and when we take public comments, I just want to make sure that he has an opportunity to chime in. That's all.
Yeah, I was allowing the commission to speak first, but thank you.
Yep.
For making sure they knew what I was thinking. Anyone else on the commission want to comment about this topic?
I guess for clarification on my end, I'm assuming that if we do go the way of having somebody come in and do a study regarding the traffic and everything, obviously it's not going to be just on the entrance where we're saying like it's just one entrance. So obviously anybody coming in is going out, and it should match because hopefully nobody's driving through the woods to get out. They would actually look to put something or sensor or whatever on those other side streets to see what the traffic is on those side streets. Because I mean, to your point, coming from that side of town, most people are probably cutting through that neighborhood anyways to get to the entrance of the park. So I don't know how much it would change if the entrance is over there versus where the entrance is. We're cutting through that neighborhood to get to the actual entrance, because not many people, to your point, are going to drive all the way down to Cottage Street, or terrible at these streets. I've been here too long and I still don't know. So I just know where to go. But we're not going to go like all the way downtown to then come all the way back. We're automatically cutting down to the high school to cut through to get there. So I don't.
Garfield.
Yeah, and tap it out. So
Garfield's going to be the major route to there before you have to zigzag. So, the other two roads are going to be, if it was the entrance, now you're coming down Taft Ave and taking a right directly in there, where you have to contend with Williston that parks in that parking lot as well as on the side of the road. And again, there's just no sidewalks or anything.
yeah,
So
and maybe it's a partnership with Williston that they need to help us make that area safe as well. Minus this whole
right.
issue in general, there was a lot of people that were speaking to the traffic of Williston on foot and in cars. So maybe we need to also just reach out to them on a side, conversation regarding that whole area to help us make it. But yeah, it'd be interesting, I guess, to hear what the study would find regarding the traffic patterns, I guess.
And it's costly. It'd be 25,000. Carolyn, I know you mentioned 10,000, but it would probably be closer to 20, 25, depending on, I don't know this particular company, and how long they would actually do the feasibility study for. But it does give the opportunity as well to exit. You could actually exit both ways if the booth goes into the park, right? So it's not one in and one out the other way. And frankly, it's not really that right now. People do exit right, especially when the booth isn't there. When the booth is there, it will deter people to go left. But if that booth is inside the park, 2 lanes I'm envisioning coming in and 1 lane coming out for the exit, because the exit is pretty much a free exit at that point. But 2 lanes coming in where you can pay at one and maybe present a pass at the other.
I think that would knock down a lot of the traffic, is just getting that second lane in.
There's plenty of room.
Yeah,
there's definitely plenty of room. Maybe they put the $20,000 towards that.
I'll just say one thing and then I'll go to the public. There's 2 things. One is, I think there was agreement overall about the entrance and the booth and how long it takes to get in, the way that it's set up. And I think having the city engineer draw up plans for what that could look like, and from their professional opinion, kind of stating what that would look like. And if it were to be reversed, also, where would signs go that we're feeding people in? Is it Taft? Is it, we're going to put signs to, people are going to go, if there's an option, they might travel down Taft versus Bryan versus Garfield. But if we put signage in a particular place, would that shift where people go? And so I feel like the city engineer is the person to kind of draw up those plans for anyone to even look at around that. And then the second thing is, the feedback. I don't want to say there was a ton of feedback in terms of who came out from that neighborhood. It was pretty even kind of for and against the changing. And so you may have heard in your neighborhood around more information and heard differently than what was said in the public meeting.
Only one person was for it that spoke out in the meeting, though. Everybody else was firm.
It was a handful of people.
Yeah.
You know, I had gone, Carolyn had gone to the public safety meeting about the change of the direction, and we participated in that conversation with the other city councilors who were also in favor of that, and Salem kind of summarized at the end
Right.
where that came from. But it seems like there's a traffic problem now that people are frustrated with, and then this coming up is creating a lot of worry around it getting worse. And so I think it's an opportunity to address the issue currently. I know Jeff Bagg spoke about putting lines on the roads maybe because they're so wide, and really defining to narrow it to slow down the speed. Are there other measures that need to go into place? And similar to what Carolyn was saying, I don't necessarily think that is our purview as the commission, especially if we're not changing the direction at this point. It feels like the Public Safety Committee should decide whether they want to take that up and do a feasibility study if we decide we're going to put that off for now and just see about the toll booth moving. So I think, you know, regardless of when it came up, and I feel like there's an issue and someone should address it. I just don't necessarily think it's under our purview if we're not changing the direction at this point. But I do intend to go to the next Public Safety Committee.
Do we know when that is?
It's next Thursday, the 20th.
So to that, Ed, I could still have, it doesn't cost anything to see what a scope of work and cost would be from the traffic study folks, and just say it's going to be, and then give it to public safety from there and say, here's, you know, between Greg and myself that are going to be attending the meeting, here's, you know, what they're proposing. This is what they do for the neighborhood. Because I think, like you said, this is outside the park problem of the speeds and some of those things to mitigate speeds, because there is at times, in that neighborhood, it's bad. And I can hear the cars racing from my office down Taft. So I definitely feel for the residents in the neighborhood for some of those concerns.
And I'm going to open up to the public. I see Dennis online. And just a reminder, I don't know if you were here when I started the meeting, but public comment, try to keep it to 3 minutes and state your name and your address before speaking.
Yes, thank you. Dennis Radgowski, Plain Street, and Easthampton Youth Soccer Board, along with some of the others there tonight. And I really appreciate, I think I put my hand out at one point because I think you guys, Carolyn, you covered a lot of the sentiment about increasing the rate through the booth. I think because we're not relocating it that far from the intersection at the top where it is now, should that still back up to that point, you could even be exacerbating the current problems of people now trying to queue and make that turn down the hill. And now people are also trying to exit. So I think the 3 lanes, right, in terms of the engineer's plan is paramount. I also just wanted to mention, I think in the city council, someone mentioned perhaps even try to expedite the day pass payment methodology. I know they work expeditiously to get someone through there, but I still think even with a pass lane where you wave and show your pass, just the cash at some points could back up people again to the intersection and the playground, which could be more hazardous than just today because now people are queuing and dwelling across from the playground and at the tee. But I think you guys really covered that. Just wanted to emphasize it. And then the last thing is almost like a point of procedure. The traffic pattern is going to get so convoluted with any discussions about moving the booth and the flow rate through the booth. It almost needs to be two different agenda items, and we just kind of segregate the conversation. Even tonight, which I thought would be a little more, the purview is more about the booth, moving it and the rate through it. I still think we're going to be bogged down in flow direction and neighborhood discussion, which I think is obviously being handled in other forums. So that's all I had, but thank you for your time and listening.
Thank you.
Hi, Connie Denham. Really an echo in here, and you're the only person in here. In full transparency, I live on Bryan Avenue, and also I sit on city council. And I think I just want to acknowledge, yes, there's one entrance and there's one exit, but I think it's about how we get people to that entrance. And I think if the entrance is on Hisgen, you're basically taking everybody from the east, the north, and the west, and you're funneling them up Park Street or into those 3 streets, right? And I think that's where the congestion is really going to happen and where it's going to be really problematic. Where it is now on Williston, what you have, if you have people on the east side, so the downtown Cottage Street, you're going to have them coming up Cottage Street onto Williston and into the park. If you have them on the north side, you're going to have people coming through the center of town and then up Williston, or they might hop over onto one of those side streets, but it's more spread out. And if you have people coming from the west side, you're going to have them definitely coming through those 3 sides that cut across to Williston. And so you're kind of spreading out how people are getting to Williston in a very different way, as opposed to really kind of jamming them into those side streets or up Park Street, which I think that's going to create backup too, as people try to cut over to Park Street off of Main Street, and that's going to create a real backup for folks there. And so I just want to acknowledge that. The other thing too is if you move the building, whatever that's called, the booth, and you move it up, that's actually 1,600 feet. And that gives you a lot of space to be able to have a line, etc. And there's quite a bit of space up near the top where the roads kind of edge that the engineers could kind of cut some space out that actually make it quite easy to put 3 kind of lanes in there to be able to help folks move. Just speaking to neighbors also in that particular area, that they are really concerned. We talked about speed, and I just want to acknowledge that too, but I also want to, for the folks on Lowndes Road, that right, this is a real concern for them trying to get out of their streets and out of their driveways. And so I think there's some real opportunity to kind of think this through that would give some peace of mind to everyone who's kind of involved, but it's not just around the park. We have to think about into the city, how we're getting people to those particular areas. And the way that it is now, even though it is inconvenient on the backup, it does bring people in different patterns as opposed to funneling them down very specific streets to try to get to that. So I just want to acknowledge that. But I appreciate the work that you're all doing on this. I know it's complicated, but looking forward to working with you all on how best to support the neighborhood and everyone who wants to use the park.
So procedurally, John, do you need anything from the commission to move forward with what you just stated as?
Yeah, because I'll work with city engineers, and especially because they said they didn't want to go out when it was not so nice, and as the spring's breaking here, to go back on site and look at a couple of different spots for the toll booth. Some of the concerns, we got to make sure we are close to looking at the cost of providing electrical services to the booth. So there'll be some costs associated with that. So there might be some other legwork that needs to be done to look at overall cost of what it would be. But so I will work with them and try to get something. I don't like to speak for other departments. So within hopefully by May 1st, kind of hopefully have something, but at least have initial meetings in the next few weeks to go back and look at potential locations and have them start the process. This is not going to be a quick and easy project. It'll take some time, but we'll keep plugging away and seeing what costs are and associated with it. And then secondly, I will have that meeting on the 18th and get information, and whatever information I get will be turned over to Public Safety Committee, and then they can determine if they want to pursue it any further or if they just want to hold off on it until see how the potential new booth, moving would be done, so.
Thank you. New City Playground.
New City, so we had a meeting today. We're getting design plans for Parson Street by the 20th of March. Looking at a 10-day review process. We are scheduled tentatively, and I will know more when they actually put this, but April 15th, we will be looking at a public outreach event with design plans for review for the neighborhood, the steering committee, commission, everyone. So it would be a virtual meeting from the folks from Boston and Kleinfelder and everyone to be able to discuss, what they're, why they went with this material or this structure or those types of things. And some of the things that they're looking at is mitigating noise through adding trees and some other things. And so it's kind of, we're kind of getting a snowball effect going with them now. There's real momentum for them to get it. So we'll be looking for something on the 15th, but I'll send it out and that would be a time when we should be seeing a pretty good idea of what they're looking to present as a whole to the city. Main Street improvement project, still nothing, still in DOT's hands, nothing new on that. The historical review, as I mentioned, I put the application in for CPA for the 14.5 to move that project forward. And then we talked about the Daily Field 100th anniversary as well. So that's all I got.
Great, thank you. Old and continuing business. Does anyone have anything to share? Carolyn?
I just wanted to touch base. I don't think, did we approve the minutes from February?
Oh, that's right. Thank you. I was looking right at them, but we got to do these.
Yeah. So I would take a motion to approve the minutes from the 12/25 meeting. Carolyn?
So moved.
Second, Desiree. So voting, Desiree?
Yes.
Joshua?
Yes.
Brian?
I wasn't on it.
Abstain. Do you want to abstain? Eric?
Yes.
I would also
Yes.
abstain, but.
Carolyn?
Yes.
Yes. So the minutes pass. 1, 2, 3, 4 yeses and 2 abstentions. And I would just say, I emailed Lindsay at City Hall just to get an update on the open commissioner spot that we have. And she said that they received 3 applications and that the mayor plans to put an appointment in for the next city council meeting on the 19th. So from there, they have to go to the subcommittee. So it'll probably be a couple of weeks, but I was encouraged to hear that 3 people, were interested. So that's the only update I had. So if there's no other business, we should talk about the next meeting date. So the second Wednesday in April is April 9th. Does that work for everybody?
I fall in the car, so I'm gonna say yeah.
We've been trying to do the second Wednesdays, but things come up for people. Okay, so seeing at this time, no one has a big conflict. We will set that date at 6 p.m. John, should we do city council chambers again?
Yeah, so what I'll do is, what I usually do is when we decide the date, I go down and see Barbara, who's only here for a couple more weeks. And check to make sure what room, but
Okay.
generally it could get a little tougher. April might be okay. In May, with all the budget and finance things, it
Yeah.
might be, we might have to be looking to a different spot or a different night,
Okay.
especially because of all the Wednesdays that I'm going to be locked up with finance and city council. So, but yeah, I will reach out and get a confirmation and get it out to you tomorrow.
Great. Carolyn?
I was just gonna say how much I appreciate, first of all, the hybrid meeting option, but also this room is fabulous because we can actually see you and hear you, where sometimes in some of the other rooms, it's a little more challenging. So thank you for that, John.
Yeah, I like that this room works out well. Nice. So yeah, I will talk to Barbara. Now, I'm not sure who's filling her positions. I haven't heard anything yet.
Okay, so if there's nothing else, motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. Moved by Desiree,
Second.
Ryan seconds. I think we can do this one all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.